Hello. And today's episode is really looking at the question, do I have an anxious attachment style? Or is it that the connection that I'm trying to foster isn't rooted in a foundation of safety? Back in November, I decided and I made a declaration to the universe after 5 years of celibacy that I wanted to step into conscious partnership, that I was finally ready to receive divine union. I wanted to reconnect with sacred sexuality. I wanted to actually build a relationship with somebody or attract a relationship that was an epic love story and built on two people who wanted to evolve together, grow and experience love and life and all of the magic that is possible for us at this time. Now, as an intuitive, sorry, I'm just checking if it's recording because so many times, as an intuitive woman and as a woman who's done a lot of personal work, we know, especially as somebody who has worked through complex post-traumatic stress disorder as well, we know that our true healing happens in relationship. There's only so much we can do on our own. And a truly aligned relationship will hold a mirror to you, but that mirror will allow you to look within and heal, and it will provide the space for you to do that in a conscious way. So the question that I have is, do you have an anxious attachment style, or is it that the relationship or the connection that you're trying to foster doesn't have a foundation of safety, which is required for meaningful connection? So here's what happened. Universe, I'm ready. I'm ready. Universe says, okay, I'm going to send you the ghosts of lovers past. And the third lover was a man that I had fallen deeply in love with in my mind 10 years prior. But it was a whirlwind romance and it was intense, but it felt real. And after 3 months, he decided that he was going back to his family because apparently they had been separated. Who knows if this is true? And he had a 1-year-old child with this lady. And he said, I'm going back. I'm going because I want to raise my son. So great. Okay, I accept that. What can you say? So we had, this is 10 years before, just give you some context. So we had already booked a holiday to Thailand, and that holiday was booked for the April. He went back on Valentine's Day to his partner. We went on the holiday in April as friends, which is true. He really didn't want any form of anything beyond a platonic connection um, in that April. What happened for me was pure devastation after that because that was the first time I had deeply felt vulnerable and really opened my heart to someone that I saw a future with. Having been a woman who I now see spent many, many years blocking and protecting myself from intimacy through many different means. Whether that was creating long distance relationships, whether it was having casual partners that I didn't have any real desire to commit to, whether it was being focused purely on my career and really not having any interest in having my freedom. The belief at the time was having my freedom taken away by having to give and nurture and be available for a relationship. And when the heat came along, I my my it was for me it felt like love. So 10 years pass, don't hear from the guy. Nothing to do with this guy. and it was the mourning period of the aftermath of him was so intense. It lasted like a year. Like, literally was so sad. After 10 years, in January, he contacted me, which was not a coincidence to me, as I had just earlier in, November began and sent out this request. And lots of synchronicities followed. So it made me start to build this fantasy bond, this fantasy of, wow, it was love, we're soulmates, we're meant to be connected. This time it's going to be real. And his words when he really first connected with me was, I just want you to know I'm not a cunt. I, that was his opening gambit. I went back to raise my son. Now, just before we go forward, I didn't mention that the week after we arrived back from Thailand, I actually got a phone call from a woman who said, "Why were you in Thailand with my husband?" And then it all unraveled that he was actually married to this woman and that they hadn't been apart and whatever, whatever. Anyway, there was a part of me that wanted this to be the thing, the time that we reunited and it was all amazing. So here's what happened. I went in and I began to create a fantasy bond. This video isn't really about fantasy bond, but I want you to know this was one of the underlying patterns that led me to pursue and stay for a few months in a connection that wasn't healthy, that had all of the red flags of emotional unavailability, and that wasn't nurturing or nourishing to my soul. So I want to come back to the central question of, is it anxious attachment or is it that there is no emotional safety? So what did it look like? It looked like me pursuing him, me constantly initiating conversations where he was only contacting me for sex and last minute booty calls. I made it clear that I didn't want to enter into a situationship with him, and I made it clear about what I was looking for. He made it clear that that wasn't something he could offer at this time. So where a woman of self-worth and deep sense of internal power would walk away, the pattern of seeing potential and perhaps seeing if it could change and evolve over time is what led me to maintain a relationship that then became like my nervous system's alarm bells kept ringing, 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 that it wasn't good. And so that's where patterns of checking my phone, asking him why he wasn't contacting me, constantly feeling like I wanted to create a connection or this chasing this connection. And I asked myself, how comes I don't have this kind of pattern of behavior when I'm with other partners or other people, other men? Why don't I have this need to connect, to make plans, to be seen, to have this emotional connection? Um, why is that not there? It was intense. And it's because at the root of our connection that we just began back in that January, there was no safety to begin with. And because there was no safety, it led to operating in ways that felt or seemed like anxious attachment. As a awakened woman or an intuitive woman, you know if something doesn't feel good or if something isn't aligned. So the key for you is not to say to yourself immediately and diagnose yourself as somebody with anxious attachment. The question is this person being inconsistent? Is this person inconsistently connecting with me via text or calling? Are they breadcrumbing me? Because ultimately, inconsistent connection, inconsistent contact, when it's somebody that you want to establish or if you're giving yourself physically to somebody, as a woman, your body is releasing chemicals every time. So that casual thing's not going to work for you when you're at a certain level of soul evolution. So it's not that you're anxiously attached, it's that your body is telling you that this is not healthy for you and it's not in alignment with your truest desires, your values, and what you need. And if you don't set the boundary and truly walk away, ask yourself, what is the underlying pattern? Where is my nervous system wired in a certain survival pattern? So is it, and this is what I came to understand, for me, there was this need to earn love, this need to prove that I can be chosen. So if I work harder, I might be chosen. And this is where the work comes in. But let's look, and this is the work that I do in Rewire Your Desire. Because when he came back, my higher self and my guides and divine intelligence kept saying to me, rewire your desire, rewire your desire. And at that time, I actually had two options approach me. I had a man who was deeply in his healthy masculine man who was safe and secure, initiating, doing all of the things that I consciously wanted, that I had been this is what I desire. And then here comes this other guy turns up who is the complete polar opposite, and guess who I'm deeply deeply attracted to? I'm attracted to the inconsistent one, the one I have to work for, the one I have to chase. And that is something that you can recode and rewire out of your nervous system. These are survival patterns that you are connecting to from familiarity. And this is why he showed up, because this was what I needed to understand in order to be able to rewire my desire and be attracted to that healthy masculine man, that safe, secure, masculine energy. And I could operate in my feminine. So let's look at some other ways that safety isn't being demonstrated. Actions not aligning with words. So, in my awareness and in my level of evolution now, I was able to say, well, look, your words are not aligning with your actions. Da 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 da. But having these conversations with him is meaningless. It's not going to change anything. The mirror wasn't there to be changed, and also he didn't desire to be changed. What I was getting and what you're perhaps getting and what I'm asking you, inviting you to look at is what is that mirror showing you that needs to change and be healed within so that you can step into your highest level of feminine power, into your highest level of feminine leadership, into your highest level of self-worth, self-love, setting healthy standards for yourself, and becoming the energetic match for the man who is on that level. Lack of accountability or ownership for their actions. So if the guy is calling you crazy, gaslighting you, not taking your needs seriously, that is not a man that is showing you that your heart matters to him. and inconsistent communication. So all of these things, those four things, and there are multiple ones that we could talk about, but I'm going to talk about those four things are really at the root of why your nervous system and why you're feeling like why you're activating all of these other patterns, such as trying to prove, trying to earn, over functioning, trying to get his attention, feeling like you're spiraling because he's not contacting you, because it's activating those core wounded aspects that are familiar to your initial caregivers when you were a child. And so, two things to leave with is if there's no safety in that relationship that you're trying to foster meaningful connection with, it's time to look at why you're or how are you trying to fix it? What are you reenacting? And are you now ready to rewire your desire, to break those survival subconscious beliefs and rewire your nervous system to step into the woman who can hold, attract, and be chosen, not that you need to be chosen because you're building from a deep sense of you carry yourself as a woman who is, that it's inevitable, but that you can be cherished, because being cherished is when somebody is showing up with mutual respect, reciprocity, a connection, a desire to know you, asking questions, and isn't just trying to have a last minute booty call. So we're talking about multiple things here, Divine Goddess. And yeah, I hope, let me know in the comments, what were the key takeaways that you took away from this video? What is showing up in your life? What are you noticing? And what is it that you truly desire? And what steps are you going to take to make that happen?